Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. Today's webinar will be about using Moho for the video game Catie in MeowmeowLand, presented by Gordana Sramekova. Before we begin the webinar, there are some housekeeping items that we'd like to go through. The webinar will be approximately 1 hour long. All attendees will be muted. There will be a Q&A session, a question and answer session during the last 15 minutes of the webinar. The attendees can ask questions in the GoToWebinar question box right away. Due to time constraints, not all questions will be answered. The webinar is being recorded, and the recording will be shared on social media and will be sent via email to all registrants and attendees. The panelists for this webinar are Mario Quiñones, myself, Victor Paredes, and Gordana Šrámeková. For those of you who connect with us for the very first time or have never heard about Moho, Moho is your all-in-one animation software. Moho is a powerful 2D animation software that combines the most powerful animation technology with the state-of-the-art professional animation tools. Draw, rig, and animate easily. You can create your characters directly in Moho with these vector tools optimized for animation, or import images or Photoshop files, keeping the link and layering structure. For more information, visit mohoanimation.com. Also, we'd like to invite you to share the webinar through your Instagram stories by tagging us as #webinar, #mohoanimation, @Gordana Sramekova, @Catie.in MeowmeowLand, and also as @mohoanimation. About the presenter. During her university studies at the end of the year 2016, Gordana Šrámeková started to work in a small production company as an auxiliary animator. After a while, the volume of work increased and she also started to help with illustrations and content creation for a set of explaining videos which were awarded with the Stewie Award for selling customer service in 2017. In the same year, Gordana was asked to work as an animator in Catie in MeowmeowLand video game, which was awarded for Best Gameplay in 2019 by Game Access and by Digital Ehon Award for an interactive game for kids. This whole process got her more into animation and game development fields. After Catie was released, Gordana got a job as an art director for an international production company, along with freelance and animation and illustration projects until the present days. So with that, I'll pass the reins of the webinar to Gordana and her presentation using Moho for the video game Catie in MeowmeowLand. Thank you so much.
Okay, hello everyone. Thank you for coming to this webinar. As was already mentioned, I'll be talking about the development of our point-and-click adventure game Catie in MeowmeowLand, specifically about the animation phase that was done in Moho with Unity, and the challenges we faced and the creative solutions we came up with during the development. At the very beginning, I would like to give a warning that the information I will tell you might be old and there might have been some solution already found. So take this more just as a story and an insight on how we work and how we tried to develop and finish this game. Okay, maybe at the very beginning, why Moho? Why we decided to use Moho, since there were some other animation software. I've never worked before in a game development field, and Moho was the software that I was using. And we somehow didn't know any better, and we didn't know what challenges it will bring during the way. We've learned by the hard way, but at the end we finished, so I guess all good. And I would like to start now with the introduction of the flow and the process how we work. So the logic behind the game was creating the levels. Just to shortly introduce the level, it means that the game has 24 levels. Each level has some active objects, and your task as a player is to find them and to solve a puzzle in the screen and get Catie, the main character, from point A to point B. That means across the scene, and get her to the next level to another scene. As an illustrator and the game designer, our game designer and the illustrator was Marek Hlavaty, which is who is like the father and behind the idea of Catie as a whole. So once he created the logic behind the level and put it into illustrations, I got the Photoshop file where he prepared all objects and all characters for the animation. Fortunately, he was aware of the animation and he has some experiences with animation, so more or less everything was quite nice prepared. We learned at the very beginning that the Unity has a problem of working with vectors. That means we had to work with JPEGs that we exported from Photoshop. That means that everything needed to be prepared for animation. As you might know, you need to have separated layers, like for example, the eyebrows, pupils, eyes, body. Everything needed to be separated. At the very beginning, I didn't know that I could import the whole PSD file, the whole Photoshop file into Moho. So I learned the hard way because firstly, I tried to separate every layer and export it as JPEG and then work with it in Moho. Fortunately, then I learned that I can import it into Moho as a whole. The only thing that I needed to be aware of that it needed to be clear. It means that every layer like the layers didn't have to shouldn't have any masks or some kind of attachments. It needed to be very clear so you could import it into Moho so Moho can work with it. It is also quite important to mention that I started to work with Anime Studio Pro and I somehow stuck with it because even though I purchased Moho during the development, which took, by the way, almost 6 years, I didn't find any change, or at least me personally didn't find any change between the Anime Studio and the Moho, since Unity had some problems reading the animations and I could use just some very basic tools in the Moho. So for me, it was like no difference here. After I imported the animation, the PSD file into Moho, right here, I had to name every layer with its unique name. That means that the name of each layer or texture had to be different because Unity would not distinguish between two layers which are named the same. In Moho, it's not a problem and you can work with a lot of layers that are named the same. However, once you export it as FBX file and put it into Unity, Unity cannot distinguish between them, and either he starts to replace the layers between each other or it starts to change them. So yeah, this was quite important thing to do. Maybe to mention the main logic behind the animations. Every character and every object that was animated had 3 main faces. We can show it on Catie, the main character. She had the idle animation. That means the animation that is happening while object is inactive and while the player doesn't click on her. Then every character has animation that happens, so the character like try to take attention of the player on itself. For example, Catie had like a hello animation that she was waving, and then every character had an animation, the action animation, meaning that when you clicked on her, something happened. For example, here she looks up because the main point of this level was to get her up here so she could go further in her way. This is like the main logic behind the animations that we were using on every object. Once this, were very important, was while doing these animations to have the starting and ending point the same. It means that Unity cannot read or has some problems reading the animations that don't have the same starting and ending point. That means that, for example, if she is inactive, she always ends up and starts with the same key, meaning if I, for example, click at her and I want her to look up, it always starts with the same positions. So this was like the main logic behind it. And it had every character and every object here. Once this was done, I took the object here, the layer or the object, I mean the character or the object, put it into a new document in Moho, hit the export as FBX and export it as an FBX object. Then I just put the object into pasted it or dragged it just here into Unity and started to work with it here. Again, the logic behind the animations in Unity is that the animations that you made in Moho before, you needed to put as separate clips that I prepared for the coder who was working with them further to make it all work. Again, everything needed to be called uniquely, and the best way that was describing the action that was happening. For example, idle and standing, and Catie was just standing. After this was done, I prepared for the coder all those clips in those Animator controllers, and then the coder took it and connected it between each other so it would work. How he connected it, you needed to somehow remember all the animations that you made. First of all, you needed to remember, you needed to get the frames where which animation starts. It means, for example, the idle that I made here with the Catie. I needed to look that her idle starts at the keyframe 300 and ends at keyframe 438, and I had to put it into Unity here, and every animation, it was quite a manual work, but this is how you do it. Once this was done, it was put into those animations clip and it was connected in between each other, but it was the job of the coder as he put it all together. Also, quite important work was to prepare for coder a written script where you wrote to coder all the objects that are on the scene, every animation that is happening, and then write the story, what will happen when. It means that, for example, Catie has An idle animation, when the player clicks at her, she will jump. When something happened and the player clicks at something else, it means that it will happen in this order, and so on. Thanks to this, the coder knew how to work with the animations, and he put it all together. So yeah, this was like the main logic behind the creation of Catie. And now about the animation, we faced few problems that were quite huge for us to say. Some were some of them we could solve quite easily, and some of them we were fighting till the very end. A lot of problems occurred because Unity got updated almost like every few months, and we couldn't somehow keep with them and still find the solutions. So we were somehow, let's say, fighting, but try to make it work. I was working with Unity 2017. That was the last Unity that had the least problems from all the new ones. Every new update brought some new problems that I did not have in 2017. Fortunately, me as an animator prepared everything in Unity 2017, so the coder, even though he worked in a like newer version, he had the main material made in the Unity that worked or that had less problems than the newer versions. So we somehow managed to do it like this, to overcome some stuff that would happen in newer versions if I would work with them. I would start with the main problem that we faced at the very beginning, and it's the layer order. If you see here, Catie, for example, Catie, I will turn this off. In Moho, when you put the layers like in some kind of an order, there is no problem in distinguishing which layer is in front of which. I will just give me a second. I cannot open more Unity scenes at once, so just a second, please. But anyway, when I put it this object into Unity, Unity had problem with distinguishing which layer belongs where. For example, if I will show you Catie here, and I will turn her, Unity cannot say where is which layer. Since Unity cannot read, from Moho at least, the Z coordinate, that means the objects in space, he cannot he cannot read where he should put which layer. Fortunately, this was solved quite easily since Moho comes with an FBX script, that FBX importer script that solves this problem. That means when we put the script into Moho, into Unity, meaning that I had to create manually an editor file, editor file in my Unity project, and I just placed the script here. Unity read it, and thanks to this, he could finally distinguish which layer is above and which layer is below. However, this script does not solve the problems of objects. This script solves just the problem of layer order inside an object, not the object between each other. So we had to manually put every object into some kind of layer order. It means that we had to go through every object and say manually which object is above which and which is below which. But we managed to solve this. The only problem that we faced was that during animation, we had to somehow find a way how to not put the object in Z coordinate in one animation. Since the Z coordinate was not working here, we had to somehow animate the all objects and all characters in a way where they didn't interact with some objects inside them in their animation that would change the Z coordinate or would come like in front and then behind. This could be solved in some cases by making two animations for the object, and the coder could then switch the layer order, but he could only switch it for the one animation. It means that we needed to still somehow find a way how to logically animate it so there could be two animations, not just one, and how to make it work so if there was necessary for changing the layer order, how to put it in front or how to put it back. So it was more of, it was quite, let's say, a logic game for us also how to solve this and how to come up with the solutions for the animation, how to make it work so we do not have to use this coordinate. About the animation, as you can see here, Unity has a problem reading a lot of stuff from Moho. I couldn't use any smart bones since Unity could not read it, at least not back then when I started to work in anime and using the old Unity. So for example, if I wanted to make the character move down, I thought that I can make some those attached bones, and when I would move her down, her legs would stay in one place and she would just bend down. Unfortunately, Unity couldn't somehow read it, so it was more of a frame by frame work. It means that I had to move her down and then I had to go to her legs and make it work manually so she could for example squeeze down. Once this was done, I had to make sure that she does not go below, so it means that I had to move her up. I had to go again and again to every layer and make sure that it's working so she could go down. Then of course I needed to take care of the textures so they do not like bend this in this not very pretty way. It means that I had to somehow move it up, for example, the legs, and make it work with the very basic bone structure. Also, very important thing is that every bone inside had to be attached to the main mother bone, so Unity could read it. Because if you put the bone inside or some kind of rig inside the object, and it's not attached in the main bone structure, in the main bone rig, Unity could not distinguish what's there, so he just let it like hang in place and did not react it in any way. It means that every bone needed to be attached, then Unity could read it how it works and every frame. As you can see, I was also using the linear frames here. Again, Unity could not read easy in and easy out animation, or you know, the soft animation that Moho will somehow calculate how you want it. However, when you put it into Unity, he either made it just a straight line, that means it was a linear animation, or he could not read it at all. Again, I don't know why we somehow didn't came up with any explanation for this. The only way it worked was making it a linear animation, and again making it frame by frame, almost frame by frame work. If I wanted to get the effect of the easy in and easy out, I had to put few frames between and make it work like that. There was a problem a few times that Unity somehow couldn't read if there wasn't enough keys for it to calculate it. That means I had to go through every animation and put manually frames between, so the Unity could somehow read it and go through it and read it that, okay, here the animation is going up and down, or fast or easing in and easing out. It wasn't enough just putting like 1 or 2 frames. Sometimes you had to put like almost on every frame a key so Unity could read it. With this, there was a problem with flipping. That means when I wanted to Catie flip like this on her in her stance, Unity had a problem. Probably I guess it was probably of her stance, that you are somehow changing the whole layer around. And since Unity is a 3D software and he needs to somehow recalculate the whole rotation, it wasn't able to rotate it, calculate it so quickly. So it started to flying around the screen. So either we started to somehow came up with animation that didn't need the flipping, or if there was a serious need for flipping, we tried to came up with 2 animation. It means that we, if I can show it, sorry, here on this character, we made 2 animations. Firstly, I wanted like the character, you know, the character is standing here, and then I needed the character to turn around and look at Catie. Firstly, I wanted like a really nice animation, like squeeze and stretch and make the really nice flip. However, since the flip was not working, we came up with a solution where we made 2 animations, separate animations, and the coder switched on first animation that was happening on one side, and then switched the other animation that was happening on the other side. This was like the only solution that worked, more or less. Sometimes it did not work that well, and the character was also like flipping around a bit, but this was probably the best solution that we found. However, there were a few cases where we needed to put 2 characters, like not in one character 2 animations, but we needed to put 1 character that was here and then switch the character off in Unity and switch another the same character on in Unity that was just turned around, so it could work, and there would be like no flying around the screen in Unity that we didn't know how to solve. So yeah, with the flipping came another problem that was with the switching the layers on and off. First of all, I want to say that the opacity was not working at all in Unity. So anything that has something to do with opacity is done by particles in Unity. We only could work with switching the layers on and off. However, Unity does not read it as the switching on and off. Unity just scales down the character. Sometimes, again, it worked really nicely because for me, it was no problem if the character was so small that I could not see him on the screen or if it was switched off totally. However, there was a problem that as Unity calculated it that he needed to not switch it off but needed to scale it down. You could see by eye that the character was like slowly scaling, and then there became this problem that sometimes it got turned around, sometimes it started to flipping. So we started to started to somehow come up with a solution that would not switch off the layer totally, but somehow just try to scale it down manually again, so the Unity could read it, and for the player it would not be a visual mess what's happening on the screen. So yeah, these were probably the main problems with quite basic tools in Moho. Also, this transformation tool again was not working the best way. We did not somehow came up with any solution for moving the objects around. That means that even though this character was standing here in Unity, it was slightly sliding around. Since Unity has problem while calculating the coordinates, we couldn't even make it, couldn't repair it in Unity. We always had to come back here and try to put some new frames or try to reanimate the object and somehow make it work by mistake, by going to Unity and then again re-importing the objects into Unity. Most of the times it worked, but there were a few moments when the characters, especially if they had very long animations, for example, as this one, and it had a lot of, oh, it's not working. It had a lot of animations, and as we were getting further and further, Unity had problems with keeping the character at one place. I'm not sure why it was such a problem, why it wasn't a problem here at the beginning, keeping the character at this position very stable. And then when it was, for example, here, it started to somehow move around in Unity. Even though we tried to solve it, we didn't. So even if you will play the game, sometimes you will see that the characters are sliding a bit on their spots. It's because the Unity cannot read those coordinates from Moho. So yeah, that was quite a problem. Otherwise, I think that Unity worked quite well with Moho, at least at the very beginning. However, by the updates that Unity went through during the years, there occurred one very strong problem that we had to solve almost when the game was done. I will show you on this object. If you will look at the texture of those objects and when they move with the bones in anime or in Moho, they're very smooth, and Moho can really nicely bend the layers without like any problems, without any wrapping problem, any mess on those textures. However, in last updates in Moho, it started to make some mess in textures that we try to cover by either new objects above that we did not bend or the particles. I will show you here. So when the object moves, as you can see here, it starts to make those messy, how to say, some messy parts. And again, we somehow don't know why, because in the older versions of Unity, everything worked just fine. But in the newest update, this started to show. I think that it might have something to do with the way I put the bones inside. It means that the rig and the strength of the bone was quite weak. If I will show you here, so sorry, which one is? Oh, sorry. I mean, I will switch to Anime Studio because I'm more used to this one, and I will show you this icon. And as you can see here, the strength of the bone is quite weak. I had to reanimate this because when I wanted to move the character a bit more, like make it more exaggerated movement, Unity had a huge problem with bending the edge of the layers. So we had to reanimate few objects in few levels, so the bending would be not that edgy and not that messed. However, in this case, we did not know how to solve it. The problem stayed, so we found a solution in a particle system that we covered this by putting particles. I will show you here on the video. Oh, sorry, no, this is the other one. We covered it by using the particle system. However, there are a few places when it shows. You can see we try to cover it all. Also, here you can see the opacity. Everything was done with particle system because the opacity was not working in Moho. So yeah, I guess that these are probably the biggest obstacles that we faced and that occurred during the development. And even though we did not have the problems before, we did later on. However, we finished the game fortunately. And at the end, if you would ask me if I would recommend Moho for making another game, I would probably say yes, but maybe no. It depends, of course, on the way how will you use it. Moho, on one hand, gave us quite a freedom to animate things almost as in movie, because this whole game is like an interactive movie. On the other hand, there were a few problems that we didn't know how to overcome, and sometimes we had to reanimate almost the whole level just because the problem occurred at the very beginning. And it was a lot of work, like more work than we expected because of those problems. So if you will use it as a tool for some kind of cutscenes or maybe some tiny animations, I think that you get a great tool for Unity and the animation tool for Unity. However, if you will decide to go for a big project like this, there need to be done few improvements that I guess that will be probably done as I spoke with the Moho developers already. So yeah, I guess my time is almost up. And I would leave it here.
Hey, Gordana, thank you so much. If you want, we can start going through the Q&A.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, the first question is about what inspired you, or what are your references for doing this video game?
Uh, I mean, I was just an animator. The father of this game is Marek Hlavati, and he was inspired especially by Amanita Studio, an Amanita game studio from Czech Republic, because they made quite a similar game. And also the inspirations for him were, if you know, the very old game Neverhood, and then the games from Amanita Studio, Samoros, Machinarium. And yeah, the main inspiration was Catie in MeowmeowLand, since the story is about a girl getting lost in a bizarre world and trying to get out.
Hmm. And some other question is like, are you a gamer? Like, what type of games do you like if you are?
Oh, I'm a very small gamer, but yeah, sometimes I do play. I really love platformers,
Hmm.
and I would probably recommend to play Celeste. That was my favorite from the last games I played, but really just few games.
Hmm. And could you share us what you like the most about Katie in the Meow What would you recommend us, maybe a stage or a set? What do you like the most about making this?
The best part was that I learned how to animate, since in a lot of places it was seriously almost frame by frame animation, even though it seems like it's not, but some animations were really complicated, and I had to make it frame by frame. It means that I needed to learn the timing and the animation movement, and I couldn't just I couldn't just what's the word? Mm, I mean, I had to somehow come up with the solution how to make it work. So the favorite part about it was that I learned a lot. And at the very beginning, it was a lot of fun because I could be quite creative and I could come up with a lot of jokes and a lot of funny parts. On the other hand, by the end, I was so tired and I had almost no creativity at all because there is over 100 characters that are animated and that have some kind of jokes and some kind of their actions and those action parts. So it was a bit exhausting for the creativity, but on the other hand, yeah, it was really, really great for me.
Mm-hmm. And another question from Maxim Innocentsev. He says, what are the prerequisites of to become a game animator? If there are some like needs to become a game animator?
But the requirements,
Yeah, requirement. Yeah, I think that was the word. Is
okay.
there any requirements to become a game animator? How this opportunity came to you?
Uh, well, just by an accident, actually. Because I knew Marek Hlavati, the father behind this idea of Catie, and he knew me as as an animator, and even though I was more focused on vector animation and more on the motion design, the classical animation like this, the character animation, he was looking for an animator, and since in Slovakia that I'm coming from, there isn't a lot of people who animate. He asked me, and I agreed because I saw an opportunity how to get better and how to uh, try a new project. And game development was totally new for me. But there is definitely a lot of game developers that are still looking for animators and artists and game designers. And I'm definitely sure that if you will open Twitter and put the hashtag indie development here, you will find a lot of projects and a lot of people who are looking for animators, especially animators, since it's a difficult job and there isn't a lot of animators.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And,
yeah.
and by the way, do you see any difference between animating for a short or a film and animating for a video game?
Mm, After this game, I was like, I never want to animate a game again. But right now, after a year of pause, I'm like, I would love to come back to game development field. I mean, I miss
Mm-hmm.
it. I was just very tired at the end of the game because I was somehow tired of this project. All of us were tired of this project. It took 6 years and it was a long time and there were a lot of problems and there were still occurring new ones and we still try to solving them, and yeah, we get somehow tired, so I needed a pause for a while. But after this, I would definitely love to come back to game development field as an animator.
Yeah, so I imagine that this experience also helped you to improve your own animation for your own projects.
Yeah, it's like it was amazing experience because you can see the improvement from the first level. If you will play the Catie, you can see the improvement from the first levels because I was like no character animator before and I had almost no experiences with that. And then by the end, it gets so much easier to animate this stuff and to get through it. And you will also see the progress of the art and the animation, how we how we moved during the years from one style to the other. So yeah, this was definitely a great experience and a great opportunity that I got.
That's really awesome, Gordana. And also, we want to thank everybody who's been asking questions. We have people watching us from the US, from Germany, like Alexander, Gary. She always join us from Argentina, Lucas from Brazil, and well, the rest of the attendees. So thank you so much. Another question from Lucas. He says,
Mhm.
Lucas Rafael from Brazil. I want to know better about the format, say, the Mojo and used reporting on Unity. What's that format, if it works with all game engines, or is just for Unity?
I'm sorry, I was not hearing you very well. If you could repeat the question.
Yep, no problem. So he wants to know like about what format did you use to export from Mojo to Unity, and if that's a format like universal format for other game engines.
Yeah, it was the FBX format, Moho, and also the Anime Studio as I was working in, has the possibility to export the objects as FBX objects, because any other object is not any other uh, export format is not work, at least as far as I know from Moho, is not working with Unity. But FBX is also usable in Unreal, as far as I know, and also the Unity. But I have no experiences with Unreal, so I'm just talking about the Unity. And yeah, it gave us some opportunity. On the other hand, since there is like no possibility to make any changes to FBX, and no no kind of how to say any oh the I'm just sorry, struggling with my words. There is like no opportunity to change some uh, mm, I'm sorry, I will use just a translator.
No problem at all.
Settings, that was the
We
word
can.
that I was looking for. That there is like no opportunity to change the settings of the FBX format. Here, for example, if you will export the FBX format from Maya or Max, how is it called? 3D software, Max or I don't know, Blender or whatsoever. There are always some kind of settings that you can turn on and turn off, and then work with the object in Unity. Here, there is not this possibility, and every time I wanted to make a change, I had to come back to Moho and make it here. So this was
Mhm.
quite a pain, because when I learned in Unity that something is not working, I had to come back, and just by trying again and again, I had to like somehow solve the problem and look for the mistake. But yeah, the FBX is a great format that you can work with in other engines as well.
Mm-hmm. And a question from Brandon. He says that he asked, I see you're using Unity, which have heard good things, but as a single developer animator, would you recommend would you recommend it or Game Maker Studio? Why did you guys choose to use Unity for the development of the video game?
We chose it because the guys I was working with, mm, the man who stood behind Catie and his partner Martin Solgay, because he was the coder, and they own their own small studio, game development studio, and they're active game developers, and they had some projects behind them. So they worked with Unity before, but on absolutely different kinds of games. This was totally new for all of us. So that's why we chose Unity, because they had experiences with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's awesome. I think Victor also will join us for question or thought.
Yeah, yeah. I wanted to. I want to talk a little bit, if that's okay. First, thank you very much for the webinar again, Gordana. It has been
Yeah,
great.
thank you for the opportunity
Yeah.
to speak.
So I just wanted to talk as the product manager of Mojo. We have been working very hard to improve many things of Mojo, and the feedback we have received from Gordana has been great. And we will be working on improving many of the things she mentioned. Some of them are already working better in Mojo 13.5, but this kind of feedback is great for us. So please, I also ask anyone who is watching this webinar or anyone who maybe will watch it in the future, please join the forum if you have any feedback, if you have any ideas, if you think something could improve the software, or if you find something that is not working as you think it should. Please give us that feedback, especially in the forum. I'm checking the forum all the time, and it is always great to see things that we can improve. And sometimes, I don't know, sometimes we don't know how people is using the software, so it's always great to have that kind of feedback. So I wanted to also say thanks for that. And yeah, thank you everyone who is watching this, all these people, and for the questions too. That's it.
Thank you so much, Victor. I think we can wrap up this webinar. And again, thanking you, Gordana, for sharing your experience, for using Mojo for the development of this amazing video game.
Thank you too for this opportunity to speak, and I'm sorry if I struggled at some places with my English. I hope it was clear, and if it was not, you're still welcome to reach out and give me the questions personally, and I will try to answer if if you're like interested or if you have any questions. So also thank you guys that you let me speak here.
No, thank you so much, Gordana. Thank you all who have been participating in this webinar. We also want to share the website, Catie in MeowmeowLand.com. You can get the video game here, so see some options for the video game if you want to know Steam, Nintendo Switch, PS4, Xbox One, and there's another gun. So remember to find it, play it, and just send feedback to Gordana and the team. And we hope you liked it as well as we liked it. And it's like doing like a feature film, like you work for so much time, and it's nice to see good results like Catie and MeowmeowLand. So also I want to tell you that for more information about Mojo, remember to visit our website, mohoanimation.com. Follow us on social media to stay tuned with latest webinars, information, and reels from other Mojo users for inspiration. Those webinars have been recorded and we uploaded to our YouTube channel. So also follow Gordana and her social media, Gordana Sramekova, Instagram, and also Catie that in that
Sorry,
Instagram.
Mario. Sorry, Mario. Your microphone is something a bit funny.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a bit hard to understand. But yeah, I can continue with this. So for more
Okay.
information about Mojo, you can visit mohoanimation.com, and you can check Mojo Animation on our social media there. For more information about Gordana, you can see her web and social media there too. So you can also check the game. And yeah, and as Mario said, you can get the game for different platforms. I got it here for the Switch, and I have been playing on it. It's very nice. So you can get it there too. And I don't know if you have any other slide, Mario. I'm sorry. I normally don't do this part, but maybe that's it.
Well, you can still hear me or not? Let me know.
Yes, that's better now. Yes.
Okay, cool. So yeah, again, just to close, thank you so much, Gordana, for this amazing webinar.
Thank you too. It was a pleasure.
And thank you, Victor. And thank you all who joined us. And please stay tuned for more webinars and more information related to Mojo. So we'll see you in the next time. Bye-bye.